Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
The situation is similar to a pregnant woman that has twin babies in her belly, says Avi Loeb of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. He's proposing the idea in a paper that's been accepted for publication in the Astrophysical Journal Letters. The carbon is essential to life on Earth, but scientists still struggle to grasp its complexities. Most research to date has focused on major sources of the greenhouse gas carbon dioxide and the use of fossil fuels. A new study has come to the counterintuitive conclusion that plants might accumulate more carbon in the presence of predators and herbivores. Your subject outlines are a good place to go to find information about which textbooks to buy. You will usually be given one of these for each subject in the first lecture, but if you are missing one or need one earlier, then you should contact the subject coordinator. The elephant is the largest living land mammal. During evolution, its skeleton has greatly altered from the usual mammal, designed for two main reasons. One is to cope with the great weight of huge grinding cheek teeth and elongated tusk, making the skull particularly massive. The other is to support the enormous bulk of such a huge body. Globalization has affected what we eat in ways we are only beginning to understand. Modern food production no longer relates to our biological needs but is in direct conflict with them. The relationship between diet and our fertility, our risk of cancer, heart disease and mental illness is becoming clearer. Yet much of our food is nutritionally bankrupt. Some people object that in order for the eye to modify and still remain a useful instrument to its owner, many changes would have had to take place simultaneously. However, it is not necessary to suppose this, if the modifications were extremely slight and gradual. It's not easy to make a wind turbine blade. Conventional blades require a lot of labor. They are a sandwich composed of fiberglass, sheets of balsa wood and a chemical called an epoxy thermoset resin. A heat oven is required to give blades the proper shape, strength, smoothness and flexibility to catch the wind and turn the turbine. Many individuals have unwittingly contributed to this book through sharing ideas with us as colleagues, students, practitioners, tourists, and residents of destination areas. They are too numerous to thank individually. And indeed, it is not possible to isolate exactly their specific contributions. We want a recreation in adulthood of what it felt like to be administered to and indulged. In a secret part of our minds, we picture someone who will understand our needs, bring us what we want, to be immensely patient and sympathetic to us, act selflessly, and make it all better. Ever since I remembered, Father woke up at 5:30 every morning, made us all breakfast and read newspaper. After that, he would go to work. He worked as a writer. It was a long time before I realized he did this for a living.
This is what needs to happen on climate change. The world needs to put a price on carbon emissions. And let the market respond. If politicians pretend this can be done without pain, it will probably result in another 5 to 10 years of pretending to take action. Arwin published his paper, On the Origin of Species, in 1859. It is one of the most well-known pieces of scientific literature. In the paper, Darwin proposes the theory of natural selection. He states for any generation of any species, there will always be a struggle for survival. The brain is divided into two hemispheres, called the left and right hemispheres. Each hemisphere provides a different set of functions, behaviors, and controls. The right hemisphere is often called the creative side of the brain, while the left hemisphere is the logical or analytic side of the brain. Frogs have excellent night vision and are very sensitive to movement. The bulging eyes of most frogs allow them to see in front, to the sides, and partially behind them. When a frog swallows food, it pulls its eyes down into the roof of its mouth, to help push the food down its throat. Researchers found that couples with higher satisfaction in relationship had greater neural synchronization while watching marriage-related clips, but they don't know whether there is selection-based behaviors arising from similar brain activity, or whether couples evolve over time to develop it. The most obvious change is that 46% of college undergraduates are now women. When I went there, it was only the third year that women had been admitted, and then seemingly grudgingly. About 70% of students were male, and if there was a woman tutor she must have been a male impersonator. Domestication is an evolutionary, rather than a political development. They were more likely to survive and prosper in an alliance with humans than on their own. Humans provided the animals with food and protection, in exchange for which the animals provided the humans their milk and eggs and yes, their flesh. The problem begins with the alphabet itself. Building a spelling system for English using letters that come from Latin, despite the two languages not sharing exactly the same set of sounds, is like building a playroom using an IKEA office set.
Audio Jungle.